Hello and welcome to the London United Filmmaker Podcast. My name is Greg Randolph. Today, I'm happy to have Nathan Legger on. Nathan is a fellow London Film School alumni. We talk about growing up in Aruba, several London Film School grad films that he produced, and some music videos he's recently worked on with the band Idols. Enjoy! Nathan Legger, I want to welcome you to the London United Filmmaker Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Greg. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Nathan, just thank you so much for being here today and taking some time out. I know you from London Film School, where you've produced an incredible amount of work. You're probably one of the most hardworking people at London Film School, by my estimation. I know your most recent grad film that you worked on was Divine Intervention, directed by Ravenna Tran. But you've done, I think, since then, and just since your time since LFS, have worked on lots of independent work, and I'm sure many other films that I'm kind of just recently becoming more aware of, music videos and everything in between. I guess with this podcast, I usually like to start from the beginning and what got you into filmmaking, maybe a little bit about where you're from. So could you tell us just a little bit about, those early beginnings and what kind of drew you to come to London Film School and just the early beginnings? Yeah, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, cool. Well, first off, thank you so much again for having me and rescheduling this meeting a couple of times now. So it's weird because a lot of people ask me kind of, how did the whole passion for filmmaking start? And I always think I try to almost like craft and create an answer that I don't really know. But, I can only like pinpoint so many things that then I feel like help push me in the right direction.
Yeah.
So my family and I used to always just watch movies, watch TV shows. Like every time there was something, I'd watch it with mostly my mom. My mom's like one of my biggest, filmmaking watching companions.
Okay.
And I think one of the most inciting incidents I remember is watching Avatar in the cinema,
Nice.
When it came out back when it was like a spectacle of its time that I was like, wow, it would be crazy to participate in something like this. So just kind of started taking an interest from there. Found a local filmmaking group club when I was a teenager at the local theater on Aruba.
Cool.
And that's, for people that don't know, that's where I'm from, Aruba, like a small island in the middle of the Caribbean. So there's not a lot going on, even though it's very beautiful, So I found this little this little filmmaking club and just started, making shorts as much as I could.
Cool.
And decided to pursue a BA in it. So I went to Tampa, and University of Tampa in Tampa, Florida, where I did not do a lot of filmmaking, even though that was my major. And I kind of participated in everything else on campus in different organizations and clubs and, head of PR in this, vice president of that. And then when I graduated, I was kind of like, oh, filmmaking is my passion, even though I didn't do a lot of it in school. But I also love all this club stuff. So maybe, the right answer to that is trying producing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I started looking at different MAs. And I was like, cool, well, I'm from, Latin America / the Caribbean. I've done the States now. Maybe it's worth trying something different and going to Europe. And when I got into London Film School, I was like, well, let's give it a shot.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you're reminding me you were student union president at London Film School as well. Yeah. Seems like a long time ago now, but you were kind of, I think you inspired me to kind of get into a little bit more of like the politics there, getting into the student governor role, but I thought you handled things very well there, and you were often very communicative, and I was just like starting out, so I definitely respected kind of your ability to communicate and just have your voice heard, because it felt that's how it felt like. It wasn't like you were hiding away or anything like that. You really had a good voice at the school, so I can see how like that's the things you gravitated to.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think a lot of tutors at school thought I maybe was a bit too communicative since I rebutted with them a bit. But
100%. Yeah. I think sometimes you have to be a little pushy. Just to get the student's voice heard. That's really just the trick at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That all makes a lot of sense now that you've kind of you've said it. And it's interesting with how you've gravitated towards producing. How maybe it's not. I don't think producing necessarily is ultra political in comparison to any other of the HOD roles, but there is kind of a I feel like there's a certain way of conducting yourself as a producer that maybe does have some type of kind of a political or a feeling of a politician or something like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just kind of something I'm thinking off the top of my head. My own experience as a producer, but kind of representing a group of people. Maybe I think producing does have a little bit of that involved. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Also, because producing, it's one of the only HOD roles where you're there from the moment the script is on the table, right, and it gets brought to you to the end. And by end, I mean not like finishing the film, but like the end of film festivals and the film getting on any platform or something. Like you're the only one that's there together with the director, maybe sometimes if they wrote the script as well, for like 2-3 years, you know? So you need to deal with so many people and do so many things.
Yeah. So no, that's so it makes sense. So can I ask you, I've got a great idea for where you're coming from and, kind of your initial learning about coming to school at LFS. I'm wondering if you can talk about a particular project. You've produced several grad films. I mean, do you know how many grad films exactly?
Grad films, I believe it's 12.
That's impressive.
And then films total that I did at LFS was maybe 15 or 16.
Wow. So I wanna ask you. I don't want to put you on the spot and like select only one or something like that, because I know they're all your babies and they're all special and they all have your place in your heart. But maybe Divine Intervention, because was that your last one? That
was my last one.
So maybe might be a good way to kind of summate like the experience of producing while at school. Could you talk a little bit about that process? Curious, like it was such a substantial film and it's had so much success right off the bat. So I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about it. Whatever comes to mind, just maybe even a little bit about the story or just something that you gravitated to, or working with the different HODs. Ravenna, she's got such a great mind and she's so prolific and does cinematography, and I'm curious just to hear more about what it was like working kind of on the ground level there.
Yeah, so Divine Intervention was, as you said, kind of a beast to make, to be honest. I remember the first meeting I ever had with Ravenna where she just kind of wanted to meet with me and have a coffee and tell me about it. And for those that don't know Ravenna, when she comes up with a story, it's very much like the things that she likes leaning towards and wants to do more of is kind of more of this fantastical, more grandiose things, more, heading towards the fall. Yeah, so I think Divine Intervention is a great example of like a beast of a grad film to make, to be honest, because it was quite intense. I remember the first meeting I ever had with Ravenna where she had heard of me and I had heard of her. Yeah. And she just was looking for a producer and she decided to talk to me about it. And for those that don't know Ravenna, like the types of films she likes to make are very like grandiose and fantastical, and she kind of wants to start leaning more towards her ultimate project to make, I remember her telling me, would be The Fall. Like that very, that one that took 20 years to make in different countries and all this stuff. And it's very beautiful and fantastical. Yeah. So she told me about Divine Intervention and she was like, she didn't want to make anything dramatic. She didn't want to make any, a queer film as well that was going to be heartbreaking or anything. She just wanted to make something fun and cool and heartwarming. Yeah. So I was like, great, sign me on board. And while making it, what was different about it as well is that, per LFS, you kind of have different colleagues or people from your cohorts kind of take these head of department roles, and instead almost every single head of department in the film, including myself, were all people that were already working in the industry. So Deon van Zijl, who's a great South African cinematographer who's doing amazing commercials and music videos all the time. Devon Opp, who was the costume designer who is working on all these crazy TV shows like House of the Dragon and whatever. So there were all these people who have already done big things leading all the departments. So it was like, oh, okay, kind of everybody like really knows what they're doing, to a certain extent. And then for the project itself as well, we went a little bit crazy. Yeah. Slightly, off the books by shooting 7 days straight. And there were days where there were 80 extras on set. So we shot a wrestling scene, 80 extras on set plus almost 50 crew. So we were inside of a giant pub with 130 people. I was there that day. I just want to preface that just a little bit about the film, maybe from my perspective, is that it's essentially Divine Intervention is essentially about an angel who
how can I describe it?
Who
It's
is-
kind of arranging
Yeah.
relationships between different people, and it's basically how do I describe it? It's
The angel's a human connection specialist, so they call
Yes.
it in the film, and
Yes.
they're tasked with having two ex-best friends who fell out,
Yes.
proclaiming their love to each other
Yes.
one night. But it takes place at a wrestling match.
yes, great.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. We got it.
No worries.
Yeah. So continue.
Yeah. So that, it was a lot. We were shooting in a mansion at some point in Moore Park, like outside of Uxbridge. And there was just so much going on with the film. And there were days where I was like, whoa, this really is, a beast of a project.
Yeah.
And I think
It's almost Avatar.
It's almost Avatar, so close. And I decided after that one, I was kind of like, you know what, I really want to focus on work and just take a step away from the grad films. But of course, if there's any narrative project, I still tell people to send it my way, and I'll check, consider, and still.
That's how I feel a little bit. Is like, I don't know if I necessarily feel ready to do another, even if people approach you, but it's, you can definitely give at least a little bit of advice. And I don't know, I feel like I've taken a little bit of like a what's the word, kind of I can't think of it right now, but yeah, there's just like like helping, you know what I mean, trying to help, or like give a little advice or something like that. So yeah, no, I can see how that it's. Because that it takes a little less time to say, listen, this is how you should handle this is how you should handle that, because you've got such great experience, going through the process of working with Sue and Richard at school and all of that. So
yeah,
I
but
can
that
see
one
it.
was a local UK film. There's also, I honestly think, another one that would be kind of maybe the pinnacle of some of the grad films that I've made was a short film I made called The Farm.
Yeah.
That I produced, which took place in Brazil. And that one was also another monster and a beast of a project.
And it just recently played at Brest Film Festival.
Yeah, where it won the Audience Award.
Incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So that one we had gotten into Bolton and gotten into Aesthetica. And then last week, Leo Villares, the director, was there in Brest and received the Audience Award.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
But that one, we flew out 5 people from the UK to Sao Paulo to then shoot in the middle of the mountains at some Airbnb yoga retreat center, little village in the middle of nowhere. And kind of everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and it made the project a million times better for it and more exciting. So
I heard there were some problems with just the amount of rain, and there was getting equipment vans and getting transportation through. And
exactly,
it was just like an odyssey, like no other. Yeah.
And for me as well, because I'm half Brazilian, so I speak Portuguese, but I've only learned it through my family.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was brought on was because I could then be the bridge between the UK and Brazil. So I was producing and ADing at the same time, both in English and Portuguese. And by day 7, I think my mind was splitting in half.
Yeah.
Yeah. But day 1. Or like the prep day even, everything was delayed. And the vans didn't get there until 3 a.m. because they were stuck in the mud when our call time was 5.
Oh my God.
So just, But it was fun.
It sounds like it. Yeah, the Farmer's another like very it's a highlighted project, I think, right now, and it's just recently kind of gotten out into film festivals and is doing very well. And another big project that Nathan worked on. Nathan, so I've got a great idea of some of your producing work. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the film you directed, because you made that in Aruba, and I'm sure it's close to your heart, and it is a touching film. So I'm curious to hear kind of your perspective on that. We've spoken about it a little bit, but I think to hear it on the podcast would be nice.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah. So I had mostly focused on producing, but then I thought, you know what, grad film is the only opportunity that I get to really just,
have fun and
put
do it.
effort. Yeah, have fun and put effort into making something. So my parents had, since I was very young, always been in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
So I had just, I'd been like waiting tables since I was like 8 or something, and just kind of like being with tourists all the time and in that hospitality environment. And I know the joys that come with it, and I know the heartbreaks and the long days and all the annoying people that come with it as well. And I thought, you know what, especially in the light of all these films that were coming out, like Shiva Baby was a huge inspiration, where you just follow somebody over a day at a Shiva, right? And Boiling Point as well, and The Bear, when all these films were coming out, I was like, I kind of want to make, a film
I see it.
close to that, about somebody's experience on Aruba, because it may be paradise, but for a lot of people it's just daily life, right? You're not at the beach all the time, you're not admiring the scenery all the time, it's just like work and life for you.
Cool.
And sometimes the tourists forget that we're not there solely for them. So I was like, cool, let's grab one person, the manager of a restaurant, and let's make their life a living hell for a day and follow them. And that's kind of what we did. I flew out, or people willingly flew out themselves and then worked and got a semi-vacation out of it.
It's great.
12 people from the UK, from LFS, and then shot back home at my family restaurant. So and cool. It was tough. It's not what you would expect, because you think tropical paradise, you go and shoot a film and it's going to be, you know, a breeze, but it was very difficult in terms of logistically, like getting any kit on the island, just because there is no kit really, to getting people to understand the crazy hours that we work.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things was I did like a karaoke scene where that was kind of the moment where everything fell apart for the character, and I wanted it to be like the one time that the restaurant is actually busy.
Sure.
So we got a whole bunch of my parents' friends and other people and colleagues and things to kind of fill up the space. And, you know, we know that when we do a film or a scene or a shooting day, it can be up to 12 hours, right? So everybody was there. We were almost done with prepping, an hour in, and people were already asking me like, oh, can I leave now? Is it done? When we still needed to shoot about maybe 6 hours, you know? So suddenly I start losing my cast before the day even starts, you know, and just different things like that.
Yeah.
The wind is too strong, so we could never see signals on the monitors, and it was interesting.
Wow. Yeah. All of the unique kind of problems you'd think in a place where maybe it's like all calm and everything's kind of moving along, just like problems anywhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's kind of producing. That's the producing thing. It's kind of like, but in this specific role, when you're kind of in the more writerly and directing environment, it's kind of like it's you feel that from a different from a different angle. So it can be tricky.
That's the moment you start realizing all the times you pressure a director to make a decision or something like that, or an AD to kind of push a shoot along further. You're kind of like, this is what it's like to be on the other side of that.
Yeah. And I think the same thing, like acting in a film where you're being directed, you know, or when you're used to maybe the other way around or something like that. I think those experiences are actually pretty helpful, you know, and in understanding someone else's side of the equation, you know. So it's all, I mean, that's why we're at school, you know. That's what's going to make the next thing that much better is these types of experiences. And I think the conversations that come with them is also kind of key there, because we don't really talk about them too much, or you just watch it on the film and remember that one time. That's great, but I think kind of exploring it in conversation really is helpful for like setting it and remembering it for a new experience. So that's great. We've got this really great snapshot of kind of the end of LFS and just some of the big projects you worked on. So I'm curious, I guess that's kind of present stuff, but also kind of just in the rearview mirror. Can I ask you currently, what's going on? What kind of projects are you being involved in, or are you involving yourself in? And I guess we can kind of couple this with kind of a look at the future and a look at what you're interested in doing, you know, in the years ahead. I'm curious. I've heard a lot. I've heard lots of good things. I've heard about some different music videos and things like that. But I just want to hear kind of recently what you've been up to.
Yeah. So first off, I just want to preface that, you know, answer with the fact that I think I kind of had a lucky break. You know, like a lot of people tell me that, like, no, but it was also due to like what you were doing, kind of skill set, and, you know, you kind of prove yourself to people. But I did think to a certain extent I did have a lucky break with meeting the right people at the right time, which is all you can really, you know, hope for and ask for in life, to be honest. So to say first that when I graduated LFS, I was, you know, we were just talking about the post-graduation blues and all this, and kind of the millions of emails you send out and coffees you try to have with people to make sure that you're on their radar, and the CVs you push and all this stuff. And I had graduated, you know, on paper in November 2022, and actually in the ceremony by January 2023. So for 6 months, I was trying nonstop to try anything, try to get onto features or TV or just in office, applying to different jobs. And of course, COVID, even though weirdly enough, during COVID, the industry was so busy, but kind of post-COVID, there was this weird slump where not a lot of people were getting work. And I was trying everything. And I think one of the things which was a bit arrogant of me, which I admit to now, is that I just really wanted to not be a runner, because I appreciate runners' work so much, but it's like something that I think I'm just not that good at. Like, put me in front of an Excel spreadsheet, I can kill it. I can help organize, but just being on set, not so much
Not for
that
you,
guy.
yeah.
You know,
Fair.
I just know that it's not me. So I was kind of, trying, and then, suddenly it's June, not making $1 to my name or £1 to my name.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, like, oh God, I really just need anything, and I need to step off this pedestal and just work, because it's not gonna come that easy. So I did, a friend of mine posted this thing of like, oh, I need a runner for a music event, 150 quid. I was like, sign me up, I'll do anything. Yeah. So I went, and I, was moving toilets the whole day and setting up this like music truck and blah, blah, blah with a couple people underneath a bridge. And then I happened to meet a producer who was working the event, Manuela Chiabai, who I'm eternally grateful for.
Sure.
And I started talking to her, like, oh, what kind of projects are you working on? And I knew of her via a friend already. So it was kind of like by chance that I met her on that shoot, and she was working it. So I asked her, I was like, what are you doing? She said, oh, I might, do like an Idols music video, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, Idols, that's really cool. That's like a cool project to work on. She likes to say that she saw the sparkle in my eye. And that same day, later, when I was like buying snacks for the music event, a producer I got in touch with in February told me, oh, I have a job opened up. Like, do you want to join? So that was my first ever job. I was he put me in as production coordinator on a commercial for Overwatch that had John Cena in it.
Yeah.
So that was incredible, And then a day or two later, John Cena.
Fucking John Cena.
Yeah. And then a day or two later, Manuela reached out to me saying, oh, this Idols music video is going to move forward. Do you want to production manage it? So I never thought that one day running would then lead to me immediately production coordinating a commercial and production managing a music video. And I was very much out of my depth.
Yeah.
Because it was a 2-camera unit shoot, so about like 60 people in a supermarket in Slough with animals. Like, we had a giant jacked up bull and 30 cast.
Oh my God.
Not sure if I mentioned it was a night shoot. So we started at 5 and ended at like 7 a.m.
Wow.
And it was like, cool, here's your second job in the industry, figure this out. And there was definitely a moment where I thought, it was all going to slip.
Yeah.
But,
It happened.
It happened, and I think 11 projects later with Manuela, where she's just kept me around and had me PM stuff and sometimes take over for her as producer as well, depending on the circumstance, or giving me a slots to produce if there were extra videos being made. And via that, meeting other people, working on different things. As of right now, I am over a year and a half in the industry, and I've done stuff for Google, Visa, Schwarzkopf, and commercials. I've done music videos for Idols, Tuvlo, Nemo, the Eurovision winner from the past year. It all just went exponentially.
Wow.
And I'm just, eternally grateful for everybody that helped give me a slot.
Wow, I had no idea the expanse of work. That's so cool. That just sounds like so many awesome experiences. Damn, that Idols video sounds like it was a lot.
Yeah, but it was, at the end of the day, it was also worth it because we ended up winning Best Rock Video at the UK MVAs last month. So that was great.
Crazy. And what's the name of the song?
Gift Horse.
Okay, yeah, got it. That sounds like the right title. I got to check it out. That's so cool. Well, so it sounds like things are good. It sounds like you've been really busy. That I really feel like that kind of sums things up. I'm wondering if there's anything else that you wanted to cover, in regards to kind of your path, making films here in the UK. What do you see in the future for yourself? Do you see yourself producing more films? What interests you? Now that you've had all these great experiences. Where do you see yourself? Not to sound like some type of job interview, but like really just curious as to what you see your path as.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Well, one of the things that I had to come to terms with is that I feel like when you go to LFS or any other film school, kind of all you get told about is features and maybe TV. TV is like the lesser option, but features really is like cinema, right? And one thing you never get told is that there's different things you can do, like music videos or like commercials, and they kind of get seen as a lesser art form. But ever since I've been doing them, I've just really, really been loving it. And I think in a city that is so expansive and prioritizes taking up so many hours of your life, when I think of people working in features that work on them for 6 months, 6 days a week, 2 hours outside of London and 12-hour plus days, I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's really the path for me to then have worked on one single project. And I think as I do more and more commercials and music videos, I see that like, oh no, actually, I truly do love this, and I kind of want to continue with it. So, the goal is to just keep growing. Right now, I'm mostly a production manager that every so often gets the opportunity to produce. I like to ideally get to a position where I'm producing more and more and more, and kind of that becomes the main job as well. And I do still enjoy narrative. So I have another short that's currently on the festival circuit. We started submitting it last week, called Jake Goes on a Date. Nice. Directed by longtime collaborator Robert Harold, who also went to LFS. And I'll still consider different narrative projects, and it's something I do want to do in the future. But I think I'd rather do it through some of these advertising music video companies that are in London. And once I decide to leave freelance and start working in-house, that's something I'll do then. But as of right now, I'm just enjoying the freelance life as much as I can.
Absolutely.
And keep on making cool projects. Hopefully travel more in the future in terms of, getting a shoot in Bulgaria or something.
Totally.
Everyone keeps going there. And I'm like, I need to go as well. And just seeing where this industry takes me. It's weird. I thought I was going to leave London last year. And then suddenly I'm here working for a year and a half. And not really sure where life's going to take me, but I just got to, take it all with a grain of salt.
That sounds fantastic. I think with that, we've got I think just a great kind of idea of where you're at, a snapshot of what's happening right now. Nathan Legger, I just want to thank you so much for being on the London United Filmmaker Podcast. Thank you so much. And
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we do something in the future. I have ideas for kind of more like in the round discussions and things like that. So hopefully we can have another conversation sometime soon in the future.
That would be great. Thanks so much for having me, Greg.
Of course. Thank you.